Welcome back, my ducklings, to another Buff Babes Fit Pod. So, this week we are talking about motivation, why it goes away, what to do to reignite it. And I will warn you that this is one of the first episodes we ever recorded. So, we recorded a chunk of them at the end of December so that we would have a few ready to go. We didn't have microphones yet. We were still kind of awkward with each other. And it's a little bit choppy. And so this is probably the worst sound quality you're going to have to deal with. We've fixed all those problems now, but just know that this is a slightly older episode, and we love you guys so much for sticking with us and appreciate all of your feedback. And we are taking in all the suggestions that you're making for us. But know that this was already recorded several weeks ago. So that's why it's a little bit rough. Either way, I think it's a really good quality of content and conversation, and I hope that you find your spark of motivation again after hearing this.
Okay, so I have a question first and foremost, a random personal question. I think we're similar in this
Mhm.
because we both talked about how we repress feelings. So when you need to cry or you feel like you're gonna cry, do you need to set aside time or do you need a certain event to trigger it? Like I can't, I repress feelings, and even if I want to cry, I can't. I have to set the mood. I have a cry playlist. I need a certain situation. Are you like this?
Ooh, that's I was like, that's a good question. I was not expecting that. You know what? If I'm gonna cry, it's because I don't cry very often, but when I do, I'm hormonal. But number two, it's because I've built up so much of mostly stress or I'm frustrated that honestly it'll just happen. It'll just come out. Like I won't even I'll just look at if you even look at me and say that are you okay? And it's like no, that's me. If you ask me if I'm okay, then that's when I'll start to break down. So I don't cry a lot, like I said, but when I do, it's usually because I either overwhelmed myself or because I've been holding things in for so long because I don't want to deal with it, because you and I were busy. We've got our own businesses. We have a ton of clients to attend to. We need to be there for our clients. We need to be there for, a significant other. We have to be there for our kids. We have to be there for whatever. We put ourselves on the back burner with a lot of this and in this industry. And I'm sure a lot of trainers are going to be able to relate to that. We put a lot of our time and effort into people, and we also take on other people's issues as well. So I think that it's natural for both you and I to keep those feelings in and suppress it because we're not ready to deal with it yet until we're bundled up here and then boom, we explode. So it's definitely something I know I've been working on. I'm sure you're working on it, but yeah, it's just if I'm gonna cry, it's gonna happen. Just be ready.
I'm like that couple times a year, it'll happen on an unsuspecting person who asks me. But for the most part, because the way I'm working on it is I'll feel almost like a welling up, and then it's like my body shuts down. But I was like, "Nope, you're not gonna cry or feel anything." And so, I will set aside times and situations, and I have a cry playlist on Spotify, and I will yeah, when I have alone time, I'll know it's been coming for a while, and it's like, I'll do it. So I didn't tell you this because I didn't want you to feel sad. It's a good thing for me, but when I was in Arizona, hiking gets me emotional because it's beautiful and I love it. It makes me happy. But especially that first night that I was there, I hiked up the mountain. I got to the top of Santan. I don't know if you've heard this song. It's a good cry song if you need it, but Apocalypse by Cigarettes After Sex. Have you heard that song?
No, I'll have to
Oh,
look it up.
I'll send it to you. It
Okay.
even right now thinking of it, I'm feeling welly. So I'm sitting on the top of the mountain, and I didn't I had turned my music back up because 'cause I'll, listen to the sounds and stuff, and then I clicked that and it came on, and I was like, I lost it. I totally lost it, and it was I haven't cried that good in a long time, and so, if I'm ever crying around people, I try to not look like I didn't even care. I didn't even try. I'm hiking down the mountain, and people are passing on me, and I'm just like
You know what? But I think it's good though that you get it out because for
Yeah,
me,
it is.
and Jason will be able to vouch for this very easily. But I am the type that I will keep things in until I blow. It's something I feel that we need because we do take on again so many people's emotions, and whether it's a client who maybe had a bad day and they tell you about it because the gym is their escape, right? So it's like
Yeah.
we're therapists, we're your friend, we're your trainer, we are all.
Yes.
It's a lot to carry, and things can
It
get
is.
heavy. And I've
Especially
brought
when
my
we care about them and we care about them, so it's when my client is sad, it doesn't, ruin my I don't want my clients to think that they can't tell me stuff because I want them to tell me stuff, but it's like, I care about you. And so your mental health too is, I'm not a psychologist, I can't advise you in that way, but like your mental health, I need to know that you're going through stress. So yeah, like I think you and I and trainers who actually care, we carry it to some degree around with us when our clients are really struggling.
You know why it's actually really important that we are talking about this, because mental health is so huge and there's so much that has just changed for a lot of people in the last few
Yeah.
years, whether better or for the worse. And I think that, exercise is just like in Legally Blonde. Exercise gives you endorphins. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands, right? So this is
I just don't.
from like, it is such exercise is so good for your mental health, whether or not, like, even if you had the worst day ever and you just want to throw in the towel, be like, no, I'm not even going to go to my workout today. Stop right there, leave it at the door. And that is you time. That is your time for your
Yeah.
mental health. That's something good for yourself and your body, whether you're a mom, whether you're a friend, sister, whichever,
Yep.
it's for everybody. And I think that it's something that we all just need that escape. I mean, workout for me is my escape. If I don't get to work out on a certain days, I'm like, oh my God, I get hangry, almost like a hangry for
Yeah.
workout.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
super important for us. And like you said, we do need to know these things, and because it can affect. So for me personally, when I'm stressed and I'm upset or anxious or any of that, I don't eat.
Mm,
And
I know you
my
don't.
appetite, and this, like I dealt with this for the last few weeks too, just the stress of certain things. And I'm
Yep.
like, why wither away? And I'm like, oh my God, it's supposed to be bulking season. What am I doing? But then I go to eat and I'm like, oh, there's that nervous stomach. So it's something that I've also been working on. I feel a lot better the last few weeks, which is great. And for me, I'm just like, just eat when you're hungry at that point. Eat when you're hungry, try to put something down later. But this is something I know a lot of other clients have dealt with.
Well, and I think too that there's this misconception with women that we cry a lot and we're so emotional. And I know the women in my life and in my circle, we actually hold a lot in. I'm not like, there's no doubt. I think if we're comparing men to women, we share a lot more and feel like we're safer to share our feelings than men are. So, like, I don't want to take away from the fact that it is different, but I just don't think men especially really understand how much we keep in and repress, and it comes out in nasty ways, like you said. Yeah, I had a wicked eating disorder myself, and that even this past year that I definitely indulged in, used it to cope. I don't wanna say it happened to me because eating disorders don't happen. You choose it as a coping mechanism, and so I've done both. I've done starvation and binging and purging and all that stuff, and so that's the way it comes out, so that's why I do, that's why I schedule in my cry times, and it sounds crazy maybe to some, but maybe not, maybe it doesn't sound as crazy, to as many people as I think because I think it's really important. I recognize in myself that if I don't do that, I will hold it in until it explodes on people, or I take it out on myself by, eating disorders or other vices I've used in the past when I was younger, so yes, I agree that it's a good thing, and like you said, exercise, it is. I've never had such a good antidepressant,
Mhm.
and when my workouts are not in a good place, I am not, and to that, like, I've made a gym switch recently, and I'm so glad I did. I didn't even realize how badly it was impacting my mental health until I got out of that situation, and now I'm at this new gym, and it's like, I didn't even realize. I didn't realize how dark it was. Like, I feel like I love the gym again. I was blaming myself, and I'm not saying, like, there are good gyms, but there's something good and bad about every gym, but that was such a toxic environment. It was so bad for me that I was hating workouts, and I was being so hard on myself, like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, "It's been months, you need to get it together," and it was that place. Switching to this new gym today, it was like, "Oh my god." So, yeah,
Good.
um motivation with the new year, everyone's all excited and highly motivated and ready to go, and I love that. I think that and I've even been guilty of saying, "Oh, motivation is trash, don't rely on it," and to some degree. However, motivation is really cool, to get us to this jumping off point and to get us rolling. So I do think it's important. However, I think it's super important that people understand that it will, guaranteed, it will fade.
Yep.
It will not stay.
You know why I think that happens? And it actually just was all running through my mind at that point because, we've talked about before, like you said, people are very motivated in the new year. We're like, yeah, new year, new me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I think people or clients, they will overestimate how much they can actually handle at
Yeah.
one time. So it's like, this is where the goal setting will come in, which we will get into at some point. But I think it's more, you have to start slow because you can't be going from nothing to all of a sudden adding 10 things to your list, right? That you want to get
Yeah.
done. New Year, this, I want that.
People just overestimate. And it's not like they're excited, so it's good, like, I don't wanna discourage people being excited, but it's like, we're not gonna go from no days a week at the gym to 5 days a week. Like, let's split the
Right.
difference. Motivation, like I said, you need to know it it's going to fade, and I think one of the worst ways to try to motivate yourself too is this belief that, negative self-talk, and hating yourself. You cannot hate yourself into doing stuff for very long. Like, it might motivate you for the night, for a few days, but eventually that's really just going to set you up for failure. And I hear this comparison a lot, and I think it's a great, analogy is, would you talk to a child? Like, if your child was having a hard time at math, would you be like, "You are so stupid. You are never gonna get this. You need to
Right.
practice morning and night. You're so dumb." Like, net like, that's psychotic. That's psychotic behavior. So why is it that we think looking in the mirror and be like, "You fatty, you're never gonna get your life to" like, why do we think that's acceptable to do to ourselves?
That's a good question. I feel like people think that if they say one thing, it's gonna quote unquote motivate them to do the exact opposite, right? When instead, and actually Jason, my fiance, who's really good with all the mental stuff, has told me, he's like, people use stuff like the words, don't do this, don't do that, and don't do this, right? So what are they focusing on at that point?
Yeah.
That they're not supposed to do, when instead they should be focusing, instead of saying don't go to the gym, or yeah, don't not go to the gym, right? No, it's, instead of saying that, you say go to the gym,
Or you
focus,
always overeat and you never stick to anything, right? You're focusing on what you shouldn't be doing.
say the don't stuff, then you're focusing on what you shouldn't be doing. And
Yeah.
also self-talk, the more and more you start saying stuff about yourself, the more you're going to believe it. So
Yeah.
it's, you want to, and you need to start talking more positively about yourself. So you actually start, your body will, and your mind will start to believe what you're saying about yourself. If you start believing, hey, I know I can do this. I might not be able to do 10 pounds today, but I can do 5, and that's a start.
Yep.
And you have that you can do it. And then once that's crushed, you move on and you do again and again, and not
I think
focusing.
there's this I don't know if you dealt with this, and I did, and a lot of people have said similar things to me, that there's this fear that if we don't punish ourselves enough, that we will get lazy and lackadaisical and maybe not commit. And so there's this big difference between motivation and accountability, right? We need to hold ourselves accountable, right? So you need to mix in self-care and positive self-talk, but being like, yeah, go ahead and have, only a bag of chips today. It's okay. Like, no, we don't want to do that. But what we don't want to do is, you don't need to name call. And
Mhm.
using terms like always, you always fail, and I'll never lose weight. Like, the always and never is the definites. Don't do that.
Right.
That's not accountability, that's not motivation, so there's a difference between the 2, so I think understanding that, and that just and think about too, like, when you're at work and you've got that boss that is just riding everybody, eventually, for one, people stop taking that boss serious anymore, like, "Oh, they're throwing a tantrum again," but it doesn't help. Those companies don't thrive, when you have someone that leads by example and is positive, most people will rise to that positive, so it's the same for you, like you said, if you keep you know what? I can get that walk in today. I can do this. I can. And that also comes into, are we setting goals that are too big? So if I give myself a little task to do, that's going to get the ball rolling, and you're going to start believing the things you tell yourself, because you'll see, I
Hmm.
told myself I could get this workout done, and I did.
Hmm.
Great. Now I can get 2 workouts done. I see that I can get through that really hard workout. So that's something, the next point I was going to make is that people need to understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around. They think motivation comes first. And sometimes it does. Like the new year, pretty much everybody's motivated. But when that goes away, how we get more and get motivation back is to keep up with those actions, because then you see that you can get through the hard thing and do it, and it's going to make you want to do more.
Right. And that just actually got me thinking about, why clients hire us as coaches. They
Yeah.
hire us, I think, one, my coach is going to hold me accountable, but my coach is also going to motivate me, right? It is not that easy, and it is not always like that. I'm here and you are here. We give our clients the tools to be successful, right? We tell them what to do and how to do it. We give them modifications if needed, but guess what? we will hold you accountable to it because we do check-ins with you. But at the end of the day, it is up to you as the client to hold yourself accountable, like you said. And
You
holding
have to
yourself,
do it. Like, we can give you the tools. If I give you a toolbox and you just stare at it, like, it's not gonna build the birdhouse, right? Like, you gotta
right.
put them to use. So, like, yeah, we give you the roadmap, but you have to go on the journey. You have to do the work. It's not gonna get done. I think that gets in people's head. They don't realize, they think hiring the coach, and maybe you saw it, like, working in commercial gyms, I feel like I see this all the time. People will go drop hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on training programs and then never show up or show to a couple, and it's because they realize, "Oh, man, I actually have to do this." The motivation disappears. Now what?
And like you said, once you take action, action
Mhm.
comes motivation, but also comes results. And then when you see those results, that's
Yeah.
motivation more because you're like, oh man, I actually did this. And I actually lost a few pounds over the last few weeks. You know what?
Yep.
That's motivating enough for somebody to want to keep going, in my opinion.
Yep.
But as coaches, from a coaching standpoint, I'm like, we're not going to hold your hand. And what I saw yesterday on your story, you were talking with one of your clients, and she was like, I don't have time to do this today. I don't have this. And you asked her, what do you have control of today? You know what? And that got her thinking, you know what? I can go for a walk today. I may not be able to get my workout in today, but I can go for a walk. And
Yep.
that spoke to me because she decided to do something instead of nothing. And to me,
Yes.
holding yourself accountable because you still did something instead of putting that thing off for tomorrow or not
Yep.
doing it. And that was very inspiring because that is what we are here to show our clients. That is, what are you in control of? We get it. Like, we have busy days, busy lives, but guess what? You set aside and prioritize getting in that workout. If you can't do that, what else can you do in replace of that to hold you, to still, that's going to better you towards those goals that you have, you
And that's
know?
and that's gonna come into, when we have our goal setting discussion, setting realistic goals that, many people too, they think it has to be, 30-minute workouts several times a week or not, like, forget it, I'm screwed. It's like, no. And like you said, what can I control? Focusing on what I can do, and like you're saying, Jason says, "Well, I can't get my workout in. Well, I can't eat nutritionally today because I can't get to the grocery." Okay, that's fine. What can you put on your plate that's good? What, you can't leave the house because 'cause you're snowed in? Cool. Can you walk around your living room? Can you do push-ups with your kids for 10 minutes? That's better than sitting on the couch all day doing nothing, movement for 10 minutes. Great. Like, pat
Yep.
yourself on the back. That's actually contributing to heart health and all that. So, yes, always, I love that, focusing on what you can do. I think, one analogy that was presented to me one time and that I love to use this with my clients is, when it comes to motivation, think about it like this. How often are you motivated to get up and go to work? How often are you motivated to floss your teeth and do your laundry, do your taxes? Who's motivated to do their tax? I don't want to do any of those things. They're boring. They suck. But I know that if I don't go to work, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my paycheck. I could lose my house. That's loss of income. If I don't floss my teeth are going to fall out of my head. If I don't do my taxes, I'm going to go to jail, right? So I do it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. And people have to understand, when it comes to workouts, your health, it's the same way.
Yep.
The vast majority of the time, trainers included, we don't want to go to the gym. I've got other things I would rather do than go to the gym many times, or I'm frustrated at, I feel bloated, fat, whatever the reason. There's many times we don't want to, but we know not taking care of our health will have very bad outcomes. Uh, you know, Being in the hospital, getting sick, not having independence as you age. Oh, hi, a myriad of things by not taking care of yourself. So it's the same thing here. Understanding that that's where the discipline comes in, is doing it when you don't want to. It's going to be this way for your health. You're not going to have motivation all the time.
And honestly, it's the days that you feel like doing things, right? That we quote unquote don't feel like doing it is the best time to actually do it, is because you don't feel like doing it. And when you do it, you're going to feel so much better
Yeah.
at that point. I mean, there are certain things, like you said, instead of, well, maybe I won't go to the gym, but maybe I'll do a couple things around here. And I at least moved today and I got up and going today. You didn't put everything aside and then you're going to be guilt. You don't want to be guilty or having guilt about that later.
Yep.
There's like the other day, someone's like, man, holidays, like I ate a cookie last night and I feel guilty about it. And I'm like, why? You were great 90%, 95% of your macros this week. Why are you
Yep.
feeling guilty? And he was like, I don't know. I guess it's because I haven't done this in a while. I'm like, okay. And guess what? You move forward and you got right back on your thing. But we want to lessen that guilt that people have. It's Just do something instead of doing nothing kind of thing.
Exactly. And I
Yep.
feel like too, the motivation that comes after you have done it when you don't want to is almost more, right? It's easy to do things and when it feels good and stuff. And I have clients who are excited. You know, they have a good day, great week, workouts are great. I was happy, I enjoyed them. But the motivation I see and the pride in themselves I see when they have texted me like, I just can't do these workouts. I have a horrible week, this and that. Okay, this is what you can do, and I have them do something, man, are they excited and they're, like, reignited in
Yep.
ways that just relying on motivation never does for them. So I love that. I agree that, like, when you don't want to, it's that much more important, and you
Mhm.
should typically will see more motivation come down the road from that belief in you. It reaffirms, "I didn't think
Yep.
I could do this hard thing. Oh, yes, I can. I did it when I didn't want to. Look at me."
Yep. Exactly. And like you said, are you going to just not go to work one day because you don't feel like it? Absolutely not.
Right,
The consequences, right? It's the
right.
consequences of, and like you said, action gets to that motivation and helps with the motivation. And that's what's gonna bring results, and that's why we're here. That is why we're here, because people want to see the results. But you have to go down this journey. And guess what? We're gonna fail, we're gonna succeed, you're gonna fail, you're gonna succeed. There is no just up here, but you're constantly
Yeah,
forward. Like, and that is
yep.
another thing. There's a part of this process, guys. It's tough, but it's a lesson. You take what and you do it better next time. That's all it is.
That's the only way it's a failure is if you don't use it as a lesson,
Right.
so, like, really, it's just like you said, it's all lessons, it's not really failure. So, creating motivation, understand it will disappear, it will be gone, and you need to do it anyways. That's going to create more motivation down the road. So, action creates motivation. Things we do not need to do is focusing on what we do not need to do. No name calling, indefinite.
Focus on what you want to do. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. So spin it and focus on what you can do, what you can control. And even too, like think of things that you have accomplished in the past. So many people will come and be like, "Oh, I'm starting over again." No, you're not starting over again. You're just continuing on. You took a
Yep.
break because life got hard. Everybody does that. We do it as trainers too. You step back. Now you're going to take from the last diet, if you want to call it a failed diet or whatever happened before. What did you do well? And what
Right.
didn't work. So now you take that to continue on. You're not starting over, you're just continuing on. Um, so just focusing on the positives helps.
Exactly.
And reasonable goals. So making sure we're not, setting from I'm going to run a 5K when I don't even hit 1,000 steps a day. Like let's split the difference. Or have the 5K as the big year goal and
Right.
maybe some
Exactly.
stepping stones.
Yeah, we're gonna slow you down a little bit, but we're gonna make those baby steps along the way to get you to that end goal.
That's help keep you motivated. If you keep ticking all those little boxes. That's why I do it with my clients. Like if they're really like, we set little weekly goals and we've got monthly goals, but if they are really overwhelmed and frustrated, like, "Okay, daily, what are we gonna do today? What are we gonna do in the next hour?" So they can just tick that box and it just really resets them and, "Okay, I accomplished something. I did something today." So that helps. Action creates
Exactly.
motivation.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
And that's
Okay,
why we're
that's it. That's why we're here.
Well, thanks for joining us again this week, guys. We hope that you found our tips on motivation very helpful and hope that you found value in understanding that even we as coaches and trainers struggle with lack of motivation as well. And these are things that we implement with ourselves so that we can find that spark of motivation again. And remember that we're more than happy to answer any further questions you have, where you can find us over on Instagram. I will link our handles in the show notes, but you can find Miss Katie at Body by Katie with an IE _ MWF. And you can find me at buff.babe.fitness. Thanks again and have a great week.